Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back to Force Strategy Gaming, and we are going to be looking at another StarCraft 2 commentary for you today. Now today's matchup will be between Mouse's MorroW and EG's DeMusliM. We can see here on the left hand side of the map we do have DeMusliM as the purple Terran player, and here on the right is MorroW, our red Zerg. So yes, let me go ahead and just make sure that nobody sends me any sort of messages during this event, because I would absolutely hate for that to happen. Happens on the regular, I would have to say. So here we go, we are on Metalopolis. Looks like they did spawn clear across the map from each other. This could very well make for a long macro heavy game, given their positions being so far away from one another, rush distances, and any types of early game pushes a little bit harder to pull off because of that long distance between the two bases. And one thing specifically to note, I mean, obviously with scouting, I would say especially the Zerg player MorroW going to have the advantage in having speedlings outside of DeMusliM's base early on in the game, and then providing him with plenty and ample time to drop down spine crawlers and get enough early game defense if we do see some sort of an early push from DeMusliM, some sort of a timing push, possibly a stim timing push. You do see combat shield and tank pushes, Hellion pushes, all sorts of things that could be taking place. MorroW will have plenty of time to respond with. So here we go. We can see MorroW looks like as of now he may very well be going for a 15 hatch. That is actually what I am going to be expecting right now. They've done a whole bunch of chatter, none of which I've actually read thus far, so I'm sorry if I missed anything actually interesting, though I would have to imagine that nothing too thrilling was actually said by either player. Right now we can see MorroW again with that 15 hatch, and then of course we're going to be seeing a 15 pull right after that, and then likely that extractor sometime shortly thereafter. Right over here, DeMusliM barracks coming on through. There is that refinery as well. Everything looks pretty standard so far. It actually looks like his refinery timing was a little bit later than you may typically see. A lot of times, by the time that rack starts finishing, if you went for that 13 refinery, you would start to have some Vespene accumulated by that point. But we can see he delayed that a little bit, and I'm not sure exactly why. Obviously, the timing for his build necessitates such. So we can see a little bit of micro over here from the Marine of DeMusliM, killing off the drone, and then the SCV scout for DeMusliM will be pulling straight on into MorroW's base, checking that expansion, and then pulling up into the main as well. Do we have anything in the main already? No, we do not. No, I didn't expect so, but I thought I saw a little dot there on the minimap. I was a little bit concerned with this purple coloring here of DeMusliM. So yes, SCV scout right in the main base right now. We'll be spotting the timing there of that extractor. The fact that that spawning pool is just about finished right now, and we'll be weaving its way right on through the drones and then heading back home. Back over here, DeMusliM deciding to go with this one Rax expand build. We can see that reactor being placed down as well on this barracks will allow for some really heavy Marine production early game, and that will of course be his primary mode of defense. It will be expecting a couple of bunkers up front as well, just in case he sees any sort of Zergling aggression. Does want to make sure that he has the proper defenses up and ready just in case. And something I do want to note too before we really get into the heavy action, we can see a couple of Zerglings here chasing the SCV. You may have noticed that this past Friday and Saturday, we're actually lacking the strategy videos that were planned for those days. I just want to let you know this isn't anything that is I'm unaware of. I'm fully aware that this happened. Basically, some things came up, very busy behind the scenes. There is a lot going on for Force Strategy Gaming, and as such, wasn't able to actually come out with those videos. But don't worry, starting this Monday, we will be right back on that normal schedule. So expect me to abide by that weekly schedule that we have posted. And unless we make any major changes, expect that pretty much from now, well, into infinity. Back over here, we can see MorroW saturating that expansion right now. We do have that spawning pool up. Does have that metabolic boost coming on through as well. We'll be starting that layer tech sometime soon, pretty much as soon as he has that 100 extra Vespene. From that one extractor, he pulls that 100 extra Vespene. I would expect, of course, that layer tech to start coming in. Up until then, he will be just working on the drone count. We can see focusing very hard on his economy. Really wants to make sure that he has a very strong econ. We'll be scouting out this expansion actually with the Zergling, and that immediately is probably going to be responded by a third from MorroW. That is likely what I expect to likely be seeing. There we go. Words, they escape me sometimes, I would have to say. A couple of Marines chilling outside the front of DeMusliM's base. We'll be scouting for any Zerglings that may try to move in for additional scouting. We do have these two Hellions moving across the board, dropping down that Zergling very quickly. Then we'll be moving right on into the expansion. Now, MorroW did see that, so he should have his queens ready. Also, we'll be dropping that spine crawler right here, but first, DeMusliM taking out this second Zergling there, denying all vision of the middle of the map there for MorroW, and then pushing out with these two Hellions. So great opportunity to do quite a bit of damage. Just, of course, does want to avoid the queen as well as those spine crawlers. Now, on this particular map, there's a lot of wiggle room in order to actually sneak your way into the expansions here. You can see just how much opening there is. So it does have a good opportunity. Just needs to be careful, again, to not get surrounded by those Zerglings. I do fully expect DeMusliM to continue up this Hellion harass. He is pulling home right now, but almost expect him to maybe backtrack. Actually, no, we'll just be grabbing the towers for now, and then may decide to continue to push after that. Wants to check if any additional Zerglings grab those, then move back out. Now he has got 6 Hellions in his possession, 2 more on the way, and a Marine drop. So some very, very strong aggression will be coming very shortly right now from DeMusliM, and he's got a great opportunity with this medevac in play, dropping the Marines on the high ground. He could then even pick up the Hellions and then wreak havoc inside of the main base of MorroW. We can see another scouting Zergling will be pushing out. We also have the Overlord scouting that possible third of DeMusliM. He does want to know if and when that gets dropped. That Zergling doesn't have any opposition, but here we go, drop in the main. Marines sniping down the Overlord. Is he going to pick up those Hellions as well? Yes, he is. 4 Hellions to be picked up, dropped on the high ground as well, and again, a great opportunity to do a lot of damage. We just do need to see MorroW make sure that he's able to get a good surround on this, because this is quite threatening. We're going to be seeing him push forward right now with these queens, target firing down the medevac. Hellions roasting all of those Zerglings. That is unreal. Queens dangerously low right now. We'll be target firing down this low one, and this is a big, big problem right now for MorroW, because at this point, DeMusliM is going to be able to do tons of damage. We've got 24 Zerglings coming out. We also have that Spire just about to finish, but those Zerglings getting completely roasted the second they come out, and look at how many workers right now we're seeing MorroW lose. This is quite unfortunate for him, I would have to say. It's just unreal the amount of devastation that these Hellions have been laying down on this expansion, on this main base of MorroW. MorroW, we can see right now coming out with this third as well. Part of the reason why he wasn't fully prepared during that engagement was because he did invest some resources. I really had hoped that he may have canceled that hatchery, allowing him to come out with some more Zerglings in order to defend against this. But just take a look at the unit loss tab right now. Clear advantage right now for DeMusliM. He has just been absolutely wreaking havoc here inside of the base, and you know, so many workers lost. It's just unreal. I'm at a loss for words, just the amount of devastation that's been laid down here. And look at that, this one Hellion with 9 kills. We of course had additional Hellions besides that one. I believe there was a total of 8 that ended up pushing up into that main, and yeah, pretty unreal. Again, obviously DeMusliM losing the units that he moved forward in that engagement with, but a clear victory for him. Now we can see back inside of his main base, we'll be placing down a few turrets. He did of course spot the Spire that was coming into play, so we would expect mutas, but at the same time, given the amount of damage that he did to that drone count, he's probably not expecting too many mutas, and as such, you know, he shouldn't at all, because there's so much economic loss for MorroW, and he does have this expansion up. He will start droning up at this point. We can see 3 more drones coming on through. At the same time, though, of course, it does need to return some of that harassment. Moving across right now with the Mutalisk, he wants to move into the main and do a bit of damage. He does, of course, need to be very careful about running into Marines, and already losing the one and forced to push back because of some nice turret placement here by DeMusliM, and he's actually heading back to his main base. Would really like him to check all around. Now, obviously, we can see that DeMusliM has great turret placement all over the place, but that's nothing that MorroW's actually fully scouted yet, so would have really liked to see him push into these corners and just check, because if he can find a weak spot, that's when you can really start to do damage. But at this point, there are just way too few mutas and way too many turrets to actually push into that main base. So here comes another push from DeMusliM, moving again across the map. A couple medevacs trailing behind these Hellions that will be scouting and trying to catch any Zerglings out of position. Again, we do have these Marines pulling it up the rear as well. Stim pack just about finished. Level 1 upgrade just about finished as well. We do have some siege tanks making their way on through as well, although they will not be involved in this initial engagement that we're going to see taking place in just one moment here. Scan going down, scouting out the units here. We can see a couple of mutas. Those Marines will be more than enough to deal with us, especially now that they do have the stim pack. You can see holding off on that stim pack until the engagement takes place. The Hellions protecting those Marines against the Zerglings, and here we go, stimming forward, trying to catch a couple of those mutas. I don't think he actually got any though, but he did get a lot of those Zerglings. Mutas continuing to fly around, being very wary about engaging, and here we go, finally trying to engage, pulling down with some of those drones as well. There are a lot of Marines, though. Is it going to be enough? Stimming up those Marines, target firing down. First, all of the Zerglings get dropped, but not enough Marines now to take out all of the mutas. So the mutas will be able to mop up the rest of this, probably taking out these medevacs as well. Yes, one last muta with taking the last few shots there, and then come on, counter aggression. That's exactly what we need to see. We need to see DeMusliM push out with some. We need to see MorroW push out against DeMusliM with some sort of counter aggression. This is very, very necessary. He has been on the receiving end of these attacks this entire game, and you cannot stay there forever. You do have to push out. You do have to do some damage. We are going to be seeing DeMusliM push out at the high yield expansion and at the same time move out with some aggression. That general thought process of dropping an expansion when you push out for some aggression, always going to be a good idea, and we can see DeMusliM taking full advantage of that right now. A bunch of workers grabbing that high yield, unfortunately, before the command center lands, and they will be heading back to the expansion to drop off those resources and then going straight back to the high yield. But here we go. Here comes a push right now. Moving forward straight up into the third expansion of MorroW. Does MorroW have enough to defend against this? Now that there are tanks in play, should be seeing some nice tank spread to help defend against the ground units. And here we go. Start shelling out on those drones, and then the Marines are free to take out those mutas. And that was a pretty heavy loss. He lost almost all of his mutas. Trying to pull forward and engage again, but again, because of that tank line, losing all of those ground units before they can actually push in to be effective against those Marines, stimming up, taking out all of the mutalisks, and there is the GG from MorroW. DeMusliM started this game out with a 1-Rax fast expand into some reactored factory Hellions for some early game map control and harassment. MorroW went for a standard 15 hatch into pool extractor metabolic boost. After clearing the Zelnaga towers to deny any vision for MorroW, we saw DeMusliM drop in the main with a bunch of Marines, then use that same medevac to pick up his Hellions and put those in the main as well. Using this drop to bypass all of the frontal defenses in those spine crawlers, DeMusliM was able to do a ton of damage to MorroW. We saw him mop up all of those Zerglings, then he kills off a bunch of these Queens as well, and then he goes straight to work with these Hellions and Marines, roasting the econ of MorroW. And this was a very, very heavy loss early on in the game and set back MorroW for the rest of the game. After finally mopping up that Hellion Marine drop inside of his main, we did see MorroW push out for some attempted muta counter-aggression, but walking into those Marines plus these turrets was enough to push him away. DeMusliM moved out with a second large Marine Hellion push, but unfortunately this time he did get mopped up. Now the problem is though, even though MorroW was able to take care of this, he was so far behind economically from that first engagement and then being forced to make a ton of Zerglings to fend off this engagement as well, that his econ was suffering so much. DeMusliM then pushed out for the third and final time, and once more, since MorroW's economy was hurting so much, he was forced to spend so many resources re-droning. He just did not have enough to fend this off. You can see forced to pull down with drones just to try to defend because he didn't have enough Zerglings, and that is what forced the GG. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this commentary. As always, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.